Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2Have 2Role podcast. My name is Oliver. I am one half of your hosting duo. With me, as always, is my wife, Robin. Hey, Robin.
Hey.
And today we are going to be continuing our recap of Empire Event 3, Empire LARP Event 3, because you might get confused. What is Empire? This is our LARPing experience. Carry on. It's gonna be fine.
keep going.
It's all gonna be fine. I'm not gonna lose it. We've still got another 2 episodes to go. We are going to be continuing our recap of the summer solstice of Empire LARP 2023. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you give us a thumbs up if you are enjoying all our content. If you're new here, consider subscribing so you know when a new episode is posted. Likewise, if you are listening on an audio platform, give us a 5-star review and follow us so you can keep up with us. Without that all out of the way, words today. I'm already starting. This is going to be a start of the roughness. This is going to be heavy. So as we said in the previous episode, it wasn't too bad in the previous episode. Things might get a little bit emotional, a little bit heavy. They might do. So just as a warning. just as a warning.
They know we're Dawnish, okay? They're expecting it. It's fine.
Oh, I love Dawn so much.
I really do. Oh. It's helped me so in touch with emotions so much better.
Yeah. So anyway, last we left off, we had come back from monstering on the Saturday after a little out of character injury, which in the end wasn't too bad. It was more kind of shock, wasn't it? You were kind of fine after the end.
Yeah, I was fine. It kind of was sore for a while, and I just kind of rested a lot of it, and then it kind of was fine.
Then you were okay. So yeah, what happened straight after that? After our R&R?
So we came back once we were all sort of ready in kit, everything else. We ended up, I actually didn't see you when I first came back because you were over in House Roselle.
Yeah, so do you want to go first? Because there was a couple of things, but basically all this happened simultaneously.
All happens at the same time. So basically, yeah, I ended up over at House Roselle as well, speaking to a couple of people. But I was in the front half, so I didn't actually see you. So I was hanging out with a few people, just having fun, really chatting. And then I ended up standing to watch Brock's Toll along with a few members of House Roselle. And that's what I did. So Brock's Toll, for those of you who do not know, is a lovely competition that Dawn and the Marchers like to do.
A lovely competition.
It's a lovely competition. And the Marchers don't ever cheat.
Never.
I'm joking. But not really. So Godric fought in it one year, Aranel fought in it one year, and this time they did it. I didn't catch the entire thing, but I do like what they did this time. From what I caught, and people can correct me in the comments if they were involved in it a bit more, but it's all so only yo folk can compete in this competition. So no nobles allowed, and I don't think any knight errants either, because I think it's just yo folk now, whereas we were both knight errants when we competed in it. So they did a selection of competitions. There was sort of 3 different competitions they did. I only actually caught, I can only remember one of them actually, that they definitely did. They did a foot race was one of them, where they literally did that sort of tag team foot race, where the teams were running from one side of the square to the other, the long side of the square. And yeah, Dawn won that one because it's charging really fast. So we did that. There was 2 other competitions. I'm not too sure what it was they did, but Dawn were the overall champions of this one. What's a win eventually, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's got to just by the laws of mathematics, we had to win. We had to win one. I'm throwing shade at it. I don't know. This is the thing.
I loved it. I loved competing in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's I've experienced that part of the game. But anyway, as that was all going on, so I bumped into. I can't remember why I bumped into them. I bumped into Starash Orzel, who is a wisdom priest. I think I ended up talking to Zoran or whatever. Anyway, I ended up got so. In the last episode, we talked about what happened on the skirmish. I had basically someone was down, and we basically got hit by the side. There was like 5 of us that got hit by the side by these Druge, and I was like, Aranel, we need to go. Like, this is not a fight we can win because the gate is just about shut, and there's a load of them. Like, we need to. The best thing to do here is to retreat, run, basically. And I was like, we need to go. So I was like, Aranel, let's go. And like I said, as we ran, Strash had like stayed there, you know, and then we ended up going back. Strash was fine. So he's like, why don't we have a little chat about what happened? what happened in that skirmish? And we had a talk in the tent. I'm going to because this was a like we tell these stories on podcast, but I'm not gonna try and recount everything that was said, because that was between a lot of it was between me and the player as well. And the player is a very outstanding role player, and an experienced role player as well, and knows the game very well as well. So that's one of the special things about LARP as well, is like it's a point of view experience, and those experiences are like I'm going to tell the things that are relevant to the story, because it was very relevant to the story. But a lot of what was said was between me and that player. But the main lesson was that Godric in that moment was overtaken with love. His in that moment where things were going to shit, he let love overwhelm him in let's say an unvirtuous way, as I forgot my loyalty to everyone else on that field, and all I cared about, when I say I at this moment, I'm talking about Godric. I just wanted to get Aranel out, you know, at the detriment to the mission that we were trying to do, but more importantly, to the detriment of Aranel and myself. What Starash had said was what would have happened if I had dragged Aranel, because that's what I was doing. That's literally what my goal, like my purpose in that moment. If I look back at it honestly, you know, and this is in character, a little bit out of character as well. But I was trying to get Aaron out of there at any cost. And you wanted to stay. What he said, what would have happened, Godric, if you had dragged Aranel out of there and people had died? And I was like, well, I don't. How would she have felt? How would she reacted? And I was like, I know exactly how she would have reacted. She wouldn't actually. She would blame herself. She would be like, I should have been there to help those people. I was responsible for those people in there. And I know what she wouldn't have done is blame Godric. And that was the person, I would have been the person wholly at fault. And he was like, what if Aranel had died there? It would have been a glorious death and a virtuous death. And Aranel and Starash and Zoran and everyone else who ran back there, they showed their courage. They showed their virtue. And what I did was an unvirtuous act, especially if I had robbed Aranel of a virtuous and glorious death. Because if it was I literally robbing her of that out of love. And if I had the other lesson that he was trying to teach Godric as well is that what are you actually fearing? You're fearing death, not you're fearing death for you and Aranel. But why are you fearing that? If you fit the thing between fearing death and entering the labyrinth is death. And if you don't fear death, and a little bit of our character advice, he was like, look, I have all these abilities. He's like, you didn't have the information. I was going to be fine, you know. We could have taken them, but you didn't. You didn't have pride in your fellow Dawners. You didn't have pride in Aranel's abilities, you know. And yeah, one of the biggest things is like what you did was out of love, but what you need to understand is that love transcends the labyrinth. It's the love that we have for each other. The worst thing that can happen is that we both end up in the labyrinth, and we would have died gloriously and virtuously. But the worst thing I did was try to rob Aranel, the person I actually loved, of her glory, which is anathema to being Dornish. Which very much put into like in a thunder. So House Mortaire have been trying to tell me this for many events in softer ways. This was a bit more of a short, sharp. Death is going to come at some point, you know, and your fear of death, even though you run off and that was this was encouraging as well. He was like, you know, Godric, you are, you know, you're a monster out there. You can fight, you know, but just because you're not afraid, you're afraid to, you know, you show your courage in the face of the enemy, but your fear comes out because of love, but it's still fear, you know, and you should embrace that. If that was your time to go, that was your time to go. If that was Aranel's time to go, that was Aranel's time to go, and you have no right to take it from her. So yeah, I was a bit of a wreck when I came out of the tent. I was a bit of a wreck, but as I said, when I say I'm talking about Godric. But that was a massive turning point, and especially considering what happened during the event after that as well. But also, yeah, I got it wasn't just you did wrong. It was very much a pep talk, and it was an eye opening. There was a lot more said as well, but again, a lot of it is between. Like I want to keep that for my role play. That was my experience, but the stuff that is very relevant to the story as we're telling it was told there. But anyway, I came out and then Brock's Toll had like finished, so I was like, oh cool, Brock's Toll, what happened? And then apparently we won. And I was like, oh cool.
Yeah, because then like you came back to the tent and I was at the mortar tent, and you came back there and you were in like it was so obvious you just been like through something, and I was like, what has happened? And then like I'm still I gotten so used to the Night Protector stuff at this point. Like it's only been a couple of events, and it was like I'm so used to like I had like 3 people waiting to speak to me about something to do with winter, and you had like appeared, and I was just like, yeah, I need to speak to you right now because I think something's happened here. I actually saw Starash later in the event, and he walked past me and he just like hand on his shoulder, and all he said was, I fixed them for you, and then just kept walking.
Yeah, he really did. He really
Cheers.
Really did. Yeah.
Because I think around about this point, it would have been, yeah, we had a chat and everything, and then I think around about this point, did you not go to start getting ready for Night Protector?
Oh yeah, so now it's Night Protector Summer tournament coming up, and I'm like, oh hey, you know, I'll fight it again. I don't want to be Night Protector of anything, especially not spring, summer, or autumn, but I fight in it anyway, because noble privilege, I get to fight in it, so why not? So get ready. Do you want me to tell the story of the KP of Summer, or was there, because I've talked for a while now, is there anything that you did between times?
I'm not entirely sure in the order of things, so this is probably totally out of order, but I did have a really fun time with the Crimson Reapers at one
Oh yeah,
point.
go, yeah. Tell us about
I don't remember exactly when it happened the weekend, but it was basically I almost felt like there was a bit of a like power move like in the camp because I was
that. With
outside
the
and
Crimson Reapers power moves? No.
there's a few of the Crimson Reapers were there, and I was like, "No, come in, come in." I sat down. This was unintentional. I sat at this sort of like seat, and they all sat down on the bench, and I was just sitting there with like my wine glass of beer, as they were all like sitting chatting, and we were. I'm not going to tell people what we're talking about. We were talking about stuff. We were talking about some fun stuff. We had a few very fun and interesting conversations. Actually, we were there for so long together, and I could have stayed there all day because such a lovely group of people, by the way. I got to meet people that I hadn't met before, and I sat down with the Crimson Reapers, with different Crimson Reapers over the weekend at different points. We had stuff we were talking about, and it was really fun. I hope that I still have game with them going forward, but that was very fun, especially when it was at one of the points I was sitting there, and then like the Enchantress has come back to the house, everyone's coming back, and it's just Aranel sitting there with all these Crimson Reapers there, and she's like clearly making a plan with them, and it was that sort of like eye contact through the archway where they kind of looked, and then they all went into the house tent. I was like, you don't want to know what Aranel's planning, do you? Kind of bad.
No. No.
Yeah, so we did a lot of that over the weekend. That was kind of like out of order over the weekend, and lots of really fun game with them. Because then of course we ended up the Night Protector tourney. I'm not allowed to fight in it because I'm already a Night Protector. I wanted to Black Knight and fight in it. But I actually didn't do any tourneys this event. I planned to do tourneys. I'd hurt my knee before the weekend, so I decided the only actual fighting I was going to do was the skirmish I had to do and the 2 battles. And the rest of the time, I just rested my leg because I was like, I don't want to actually pull it in a tourney. So I went to watch, and so the Night Protector tourney, first of all, there have been a couple of changes within the rules. And when the egregores came up to me and asked if I can like cover one of the gates, basically, because new rules, once everybody's in there and fighting, no one comes in and goes out, basically. So to put that into other terms, basically previously healers would be able to run and heal people and help them. Now, there was a bit of a muddying in the rules of if you got healed in there, you could still carry on fighting. I always understood the rule as if you were healed in there by someone who was already in there, you could carry on fighting.
Well,
like if you're there fighting and someone's next to you and they put their hand on you and they say get it together or something.
Yeah, you can, but there's a lot more like people are being a little bit more ruthless. So basically, like the times I've been taken out now, the past couple of times, instead of just going down, then people leaving you, people just say, "Do you yield?" As in, like, do you give up? And then obviously you then have to like answer. Then if you say no, they're probably just going to get you onto your bleed count and just be like, "But now you're dying," basically. Instead of, or if you say yes, I yield, therefore get out of the square. Whereas before everyone just went, haha, hit you 2 down, and then move on to the next person. Then people were getting kind of healed. Now it's like we're sticking together. Yeah. Anyway.
So yeah, like the I was outside with a few of the healers and stuff, and I had to stop people like going in and coming out. And it was basically a case of we could get people out if they literally say I yield, they can drag themselves over until they were out. If they were on the bleed count, Egregore was keeping a really close eye on this. If people were on their bleed count, they was letting people come in and take them back out because obviously they were out. But I was trying to stop that. And I understand it. Okay, like out of character, these tourneys is a lot of people running and fighting. The people that play healers, for them to go in there, they're going to be on the ground on their knees. Out of character, it could potentially be dangerous. Somebody could potentially fall over them and things like that. It doesn't seem, it's not the best thing. And last time I did notice they did a lot of like, they paused the fighting to let people get removed and then carried on. Whereas this time it's like, no, just drag them out. So I had to stand there and do that thing where like I had somebody like people like shout and be like, no, does somebody heal me and everything, and like having a go at the healers. And I was like, no. I will put you on your bleed count if you threaten the healers. And that was quite fun actually. I like doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you were fighting in it, so
I had a great time. I fought really well this time.
and whose side were you
I
fighting on?
thought bit of both. Right. So I did my usual. I walked in, and I felt bad because like I had like these touching moments with House Orzel. One, I kind of wanted to like test my metal against them anyway, but because I fought on the other side last time, but also they were standing with they were standing with the person who had the Knight Protector banner previously, and that person had given Aranel some provocative flowers the previous season. So I was like, no, actually I'm gonna stand against you. So I actually joined the side that had more people. And yeah, I was fighting pretty well. I had a mage right next to me who I was fighting next to, and I was like, "Do you have a shatter?" And they're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Where do you want me to use it?" And I was like, "Wait for it." And then as soon as like, funnily enough, as repayment for Strashels, I was like, "Get that rod." It's like shatter.
You shatter Strash's rod.
Well, I told the person with the shatter to get it out the way. But anyway, it was like, so it was good back and forward, and then it all started to turn, and then like we quickly started taking out the other side. And I was like, oh dear. So I was like, well, this is no fun. And then I think like Mercy shouted from the other side saying, oh yeah, if you win this, you know, for the person in question, then you know I'll owe you one. You're showing your loyalty, and I was just like,
yeah, he was basically shouting like, if you ever had any loyalty, to
yeah,
you,
loyalty. I was
do
like,
this, and okay.
I was like, okay, and then I switched sides, which was really fun because everyone was having a good time, and there was a few people that I was like desperate to fight, people that I've known now for like a year and a half on the battlefield that are just like, yeah, let's go for it, you know. And it was really fun. I fought against there was a particular general who I went, right, okay, let's go 1-on-1, and I was like, let's see if they have any shatters left. And they didn't use the shatter straight away. And I'm like, ha, you're out of shatters. You know, because I know a lot of people's abilities now as well. So but it was fun. I got taken out by a cleave. A couple of cleaves, and then I was like, oh yeah, cool, I'm done. I don't want to be Knight Protector with Summer anyway, whatever. Thing is, I'm saying I don't want to be Knight Protector with Summer. If I ever accidentally won it, I would obviously do the responsibilities or whatever to do it. But no, I'd used. I think as well. I didn't think about this because I was supposed to be doing like my test of ardor as well that night, part of it. And I used all of my hero points and a potion, but I had a blast in there though, so it was worth it. To the point because when you start doing really well, people start cheering as well for you, and you're like, I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm living for. You know, it was absolutely awesome. But yeah, I think that's the thing. It's a massive war of attrition in there. So the more you can whittle people down, and then because I hadn't really been hit early, because I was on the bigger side, and then I switched sides, and I still had a lot of stuff, a lot of resources. I still had a lot of resources to spend. So, but anyway, that was fun. There's a new Knight Protector of Summer, crowns or knighted, or I don't know, whatever the word is. So.
That's fun. So yeah, we a lot of fun there. There would have been a few things that happened after that. Probably just a lot of conversations and things like that, hanging out with people, until we got to the point where we were gonna like you know, have a walk over to the marches, because they had their summer festival. We're like, oh, let's go have some fun. Now on the way there, we passed the previous Knight Protector of Summer. And so same Knight Protector that we had the, you know, his was the danger flirting. And as he obviously was not the Knight Protector Summer anymore. And like Aranel was upset by this because Aranel and this Knight Protector Summer, they had plans, basically. They had plans for winter and summer. It was actually quite shocking. And she stopped him, and she was next to Godric, and she stopped him by like putting her hand on his chest and just, and they spoke, and he said, no, we'll speak properly tonight at the ball. We'll speak properly. And she's like, yeah, that's when we will speak. And then she said goodbye to him, and we headed to the marches. So yeah, we head up the marches, and
yeah, they had their festival of summer. They had like a load of games and things like that.
Godric hit nails into wood.
I hit nails into wood. I embarrassed myself as a tradesman because I couldn't get really the knack of it. So I lost like 10 rings on this hammering game. So whatever.
No, we donated 10 rings to the marches.
We donated. It was for a good cause. I don't know what it was for. It was probably for some farm or something. I don't know. It was for some crops. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what they're all about.
We had a lot of fun.
Got some of our favorite mead from the Black Rat.
Oh yeah. That's so much good drinking. Everything. Because I actually didn't have the mead this time because it puts me on my back. I actually had their blonde ale. That's good.
It's probably a higher percentage than the mead. Mead's pretty
good stuff.
Mild.
But yeah, but I drink mead too fast. Whereas the ale, I kind of like savor it a bit more. It was good. It was really good.
Yeah.
So we were there, saw a few friends, watched a few competitions. All the Donish that we met there as well. Everybody, I was just watching everybody having their competitions. It was a lot of fun.
Was that thunder? What the hell was that?
I didn't hear anything.
It was a massive crash.
I mean, there's some really dark clouds in the sky.
Ominous. Sorry.
How ominous.
Sorry, continue.
Yeah, so we got to see lots of Donish just having fun. The march tried to convince us to bob for apples. We were like, don't be silly, we're Donish. And we turn around, we see all these Donish are soaked. Like, oh my God. What are you doing? It was good fun. Yeah. So we did that. We had our fun, and then we headed back to Dawn for a couple of things.
Yeah.
So can't remember what time of the day this was, but
would have been late.
We ended up. You and I ended up like splitting up, going different ways.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. I went. I mean, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
So basically, yeah. I mean, yeah. So basically, I went to the back end of military council, and following that, the lance captains, because of the military council, we're talking about what we're doing on the Sunday. I'm going to fire through this relatively quick. We were off to Scalim. Scalim, right? Yeah, Scalim. That's going to be remembered anyway. We're off to Scalim, which is Jotun territory. So we're now like pushing into Jotun territory. We're being like the aggressors here. We're like pushing into Jotun territory. Where, like I said, the last episode we're fighting with Wintermark, which is something we haven't done in a long time, as Dawn. So Wintermark, Dawn, and the marches, just the three nations going through. We were going to be. We had to. We were stopping this mechanism. I'm not, to be honest, like the broader campaign was a little bit lost on me this time. I just knew what I had to do as a soldier. Basically, that's all I was worried about. So there was these mechanisms these puzzles that had to be solved. There was like a riddle, but that was all solved by the military council anyway. Our field marshal was a Wintermarker. The objectives was to go and find these three mechanisms. The three mechanisms, I'm pretty sure it was three.
Okay.
Pretty sure it's three. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was three dials that had to be turned or what have you. But it had to be like something had to be triggered. Anyway, we knew there was going to be this like brass colossus thing. It was like basically a big robot, right? And Can you hear that?
No.
There is a very loud crack of lightning right outside the conservatory.
Oh yeah, outside is it's like heavy rain out there.
It's fine. It'll give atmosphere. It'll give atmosphere to the rest of the podcast. It's fine, as long as the power doesn't all go out. Anyway, we'll carry on, and hopefully it sounds all right. Because otherwise we'll run out of time. So there was going to be this construct, this like brass colossus thing, Some of the things about this battle were pretty alarming. This Colossus wasn't actually an objective, but it was going to be a threat on the battlefield. The things that it could do was things like we heard it could do like a mass shatter. Basically, don't go anywhere near, don't go within touching distance of it, because it will like it can do nasty things to you, like shatters and strike downs and cleaves and all sorts of nasty stuff. There was going to be a herald that was controlling it. There was also going to be lots of autumn heralds. Basically, Jotun have been using like autumn magic, so it was basically like Empire versus autumn magic in this one. Now the plan was to basically Wintermark go first, fight in the field, then Dawn goes next. We were to move up the field towards the woods. Then the marchers would come in behind us, and they were going to go and fight in the copse on the left. That did change, but I'll get to that when we start talking about the battle on the Sunday. But all I need to know is I'm like, okay, we need to prepare for things like shatter, and entangles and things like that, because we're dealing with like autumn heralds and things like that, and we're dealing with Jotun as well. So my basic job was to be like, right, okay, well we'll get our small unit, we talked at Lance Captain's meeting. I knew that all I had to do was basically I was just gonna latch on to two other lances, because we've already got two big groups in Dawn, and then like a third one that's slightly smaller, but we needed to make like a fourth one. Really, I was like, okay, well we'll attach this big group, like us three small groups will just attach onto that, and we just prepared with like artisan's oil, things like that. So but the scary thing about this one was that the plan was for Dawn to go into the woods on their own without any backup, and we were going to be fighting in the woods to make sure all these dials were turned. When we found the dials, send word back, make sure that was all done. So yeah, that was going to be the scary part about this, and that was kind of military stuff done for me this time.
Yeah. Yeah, well, while you were doing that.
Meanwhile. Oh, actually, we had one really cute thing that I really want to point out. Sorry.
Yes.
Really cute thing. In military council, one of the children from the academy, I think they were from the academy, one of the children came in to the military council and got right to speak. And they were like, oh, we're going to have some boggarts helping us. We've paid 7 rings worth of help from boggarts. So we don't know how many are going to turn up. and the field marshal was like, well, every one more body we have helps. So it was adorable. It was just like, I was just like, oh man, I hope we all laugh at this, and then there's going to be like 1 million boggarts show up for 7 rings.
Exactly. Everyone's like, oh, how cute. We get there and an army of boggarts show up. We're just like
7 rings worth. Okay. But that was, sorry, I had to bring
the
that
academy
up,
should be running everything, by the way.
I just thought that was adorable. It was awesome.
I heard so much boggart stuff this weekend. Yeah. Like they'd come into Dawn, they cursed one of the camps. They were, it was just, it was so much fun with the boggarts. So while all this was happening, there has been a skirmish happening. And I had spoken to the previous Night Protector, Summer, and when I spoke to him, he was about to head off on a skirmish. And then the sort of word was flying around that 3 people had died on the skirmish. And then when running, I then somebody came in to our little mortar camp and said, it's the previous Night Protector of Summer. And I just like bolted to the glory square. I was like, no. I've never gone through this for someone else before. I've never like experienced, like obviously a lot of character death, but I've not experienced a character death that like Aranel was so close to. And I was like, what? Like Aranel was like there and it was emotional and I couldn't believe it. And it was just horrific. More happened here as well. I won't name names because I don't have everyone's permission here. But this player's true love died at the same time of a broken heart. and they were there together. They were then taken back to the tent. Our house removed the curse on this tent that had been set by the Boggarts earlier to make sure that people could mourn. And I got to go in, and one of my lovely friends, she like took my hand and she was like, no, you come in, you need to come and say goodbye as well. And as I sat there, saying goodbye, she leant in and she told me about the flowers he had given me, to say that it was because he respected you. And I was just like, oh, this is horrible. Like, I was actually like starting to feel tears. I was like, oh my gosh, this is just like, this is so heavy. This is so much. I didn't expect this. I was gutted, so gutted this character died. Like, couldn't put into words. I had so many plans. Like, even though they were no longer an Protector of Summer, that's so many plans. I was like, no, we're still going to do this thing, right? Like, why would that stop us doing this? We can still unite this. This is like a big, like, summer person and dawn. You know, it's still going to happen. So what? You know, we'll do what our plan was. So to have them go, it was just like, oh, and there's all this like dread and this like regret kind of like swept over as well. Like, you know, I should have Black Knighted and gone and fought for them, or maybe I should have gone the skirmish with them, you know, with maybe the, like, oh, so many emotions at once. And it was so much like anger and denial was like going on when this happened. Yeah, so that happened.
Yeah, I mean,
so thanks for dying.
Yeah, thanks for dying. I mean, I felt like shit because obviously I fought against him in the No Protector tournament, and I was like, whoops. I kind of meta did it anyway because I was like, oh yeah, well, it makes sense because Godric would be jealous or whatever. But then I was like, oh damn, why?
No, it was horrific. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Well done. Takes a lot to make me cry, and you achieved that goal. Well done.
Well,
I'm going to stop telling people it takes a lot to cry, because everyone's now attempting to make me cry. Turns out, yes, there are tears there. It does happen. Could you all stop now?
See, I've known players to have characters die that my character didn't have loads of interactions with. But I think that was probably the first time for you where you were like, oh, this character that I had loads of interactions with isn't going to be around anymore. It's like, because oftentimes it's sad and you're just like, oh, that person, I know who they are. And then like out of character, you probably know them better than in character. But this event was the first time that like people that we like had interacted with in character a lot.
Yeah, this was the first time that somebody that like I feel like I knew him better in character than out of character. And it was so weird because like we had a little like fun, and it was almost like this weird sort of rivalry thing that we started, which didn't make any sense, but it was just fun. You know, anything's fun to role play, you know? So yeah, but they died. So yeah.
Rough.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of sadness after that. There was a lot of conversations in the house. Spent a lot of time at this house. Actually, there was stories getting told. It's really beautiful. And then I guess we kind of like hung out with a few people, and then we got ready for the ball.
So yeah, so we went off to a ball that was happening in Dawn. This was organized by like a newish player as well.
Yeah, so they'd like organized this full ball. We all got into our beautiful ball gowns. There was a competition in place for best dressed with several categories covering like all members, so Dawnish, non-Dawnish, and so on. There was dancing, and I did none of it.
No, yeah, we completely missed this because we were both. Well, I know what I was doing. I was just gossiping, like because I didn't know where you were. I was like, well, I want to dance. I was working. You. I want to dance with you, but like I was like, and then I think there was lots of gossip going around, or just cool like role play stuff. Just talking around and watching the festivities. I did get in the Glory Square once, and then it turned into a bit of a mosh pit, and I was like, no, it's not quite for me. Not quite for me. People were trying to dance properly, and then it turned into a bit of a knees up, which was quite cool. But I was like, no, I prefer to just kind of role play around the periphery, actually.
So I ended up, a few people stopped me and they were like, yes, we heard that you need mana for this mass weakness. I was like, yeah, but you're like 18 hours too late, I'm afraid. And they were like, no, no, for tomorrow in the battle. And I was like, what? You're going to have to fill me in here. So Mortard said, oh, yeah, they'll do a mass weakness if everybody else provides mana. And I was like, okay, yeah, it does sound like something they'd say. I was like, okay, right, give them. And they were like, who do we give the mana to? I was like, me, I guess. I'll take mana. Yes, me. And I took the mana, and then I end up getting roped into all these conversations of this is the plan. We're going to do like this, this, this. And then at this point, we're going to do that. We need runners from here. And I was like, okay, let me get my notebook. I spent the whole time with my notebook going over battle plans, figuring out the best option, running to find House Mortar to be like, hey, are we doing this tomorrow? And they were like, oh, we think we're doing it tomorrow. I was like, no, we need to know if we're doing it tomorrow. Also, I have mana. Who do I give this to? So we ended up like collecting mana, had lots of different people coming over to have conversations all about the stuff the next day. We did this right up until we were about to head to the Barrens, basically, right up until Sasha came up and handed us both torches to take to the Barrens. So do you want to explain then? So yeah, we were in the ball, but basically there was something happening at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
On Saturday, and this was really special.
Yeah.
So go for it.
Yeah. So I wasn't in when the ball was going on. I was in armor, right? Because if people recall, my test of ardor, when the sun goes down, I'm supposed to be defending black roses with one-on-one duels. So I actually was like in full armor, and I was armed as well when the ball was going on. A lot of people were like, it was good because a lot of people were like, why are you all girded up? And I'm just like, I could tell them this. Now we had a special conjunction come out. And this is really cool. So at, was it 10?
11.
11. So 11 p.m. The Sentinel Gate, a conjunction was going to be available. So the Sentinel Gate was going to open at 11 o'clock to take the entire nation of Dawn. So every player in Dawn was able to go through the gate to the Barrens. And it was to go to a place called the Shrine of Hope, which was like a stopping point for knights errants in the Barrens, and we were going out there, and there was going to be, it was really cool. So out of character, we got this in like a Winds of Fortune, right? And quite close to the event as well. So it was really special thing. It's not like, if you're not an Empire goer, this is like something that hardly ever happens. It has happened before, I hear, not while we've been playing, but basically it's I'm gonna put this in verticals. Non-combat, right? It's not. It's threat. It's a low, no threat like situation, and like everybody in Dawn. If you're Dawnish, you can come through the gate. And it was basically to go and visit the shrine, and there was going to be a load of spirits there as well. So spirits of Dawnish that had fallen fighting in the Barrens, and part of the conjunction was that these spirits needed to be like appeased in some way. And out of character note, they were like, if you are a player whose character died in the Barrens, you can come as a ghost. You can be there as a ghost, which was really cool. So our friend Tancred, and I'm sure a lot of other people, because again, there was a lot of stuff. There was lots of stuff going on this event, and it was very much us focused this time. But like Tancred came up with a dose of True Liao, which is a very difficult thing to get hold of. Very difficult. This is the type of thing that you use for like past life visions and things like that. There's a position so non-Empire people. There's a position in the Empire called a gatekeeper. So they're the ones that get to decide. It's not just like, oh yeah, I want to just go and please can I have some True Liao? How do I get hold of it? Like there's literally an imperial position to like decide who gets this stuff type of thing. And he had this vial of True Liao, and it was to consecrate or the shrine.
Yeah,
I think they were consecrating it to. I'll get to what they were doing a bit later. But yeah, we got to, obviously it was like right after the ball, so we went. That's why I was all girded up, and it was dark as well. So we all, like the entirety of Dawn had like gotten together and we had lit torches, and we were all like had our kind of fire lit torches, and we all like walked all the way up to the Sentinel Gate, and it was pretty damn special, wasn't it? It was pretty damn special.
It really was. Like seeing the other nations as we walked past as well, that support from them where they knew where we were going. And it was just that sort of love that you were feeling from everyone, where they were just like all like, you know, congratulating us on reclaiming this land finally as we all walked to the Barrens.
Yeah, we walked to the Barrens. Yeah, so because obviously you walk up past the mainly it's the Brass Coast. You walk up
Mainly
by
Brass Coast,
yeah, and they you know they were saying their congratulations, and yeah, and then we went through the gate. We literally, some people were literally taking a couple of the fallen from that day to be laid to rest at the Barrens as well.
Yeah, that was really beautiful.
And we went through, and it was something else, wasn't it? It was so peaceful. It was just that way that we walked out, and there was lights in little areas, and obviously it's dark, and it's on that where PD had said it is that open field that you go out onto. So it was like that big, nice open area. The weather was perfect, wasn't it? It was like it wasn't too cold. It was just perfect. And you
we were all in our like ball gowns and everything. Like literally just took the ball there.
Yeah, and it was so peaceful. And as we walked out, and then they put like these little lanterns in different spots, and these different lanterns, there were like NPC spirits and non-NPC spirits. That were there. Do you want me to? I'm probably going to do a lot of talking here. Do you want me to? Do you want to tell the story of the test of ardor, or?
Yeah, sure. Well, there was a spirit there in the Barrens who basically wished to see combat once more. A Donna spirit, of course, who wanted to hear the clash of metal on metal, and invited those who had a rivalry to solve or a test to pass to come and to fight for the spirit and to appease them. And this was the perfect opportunity for Godric to be challenged for his first black rose, as he stood out there and was challenged by Kay, as Godric and Kay fought for this spirit and for that black rose. It was absolutely epic to watch, because knowing after what you said earlier, Godric was out of hero points.
Oh yeah, I was.
You fought that raw, like no hero points. There was no calls, and it actually made it even more beautiful. The fact this was an actual fight we were watching as both of you were fighting, and this was getting close right up to the end. Like it was impressive to watch. People gathered and crowded around, and they cheered and they shouted the names, and they listened to the sound that was getting made, because everything else was so peaceful, just watching this fight. As of course Godric won this fight, kept that first black rose, and the spirit approached and was just in awe of this moment. It reminded the spirit of when they were alive and when they were able to taste that fight. Yeah. And they were very happy with what was put on.
Yeah, I've got goosebumps kind of like remembering this, because the thing is, it all worked out, because the reason why I was like girded is because obviously like girded up was because of the test of ardor, but obviously it was a zero threat kind of like conjunction where everyone could go, so there was no like baddies or anything like that. So most people were like in there just normal. No one was brought weapons. Hardly anyone brought weapons. The most anyone had was a dagger, whereas I had come like fully armored, with my shield, with my sword and everything. I didn't have my shield. With my sword and all my armor on. And then I'd said to, like, out of character, I'd said to Kay, I was like, yeah, are you gonna? Well, actually, no, in character, I'd said to Kay, are you gonna, challenge? We'll fight in front of the spirit, because we knew there were spirits to be appeased. And it was really cool because the NPC was like, he wasn't getting that much attention, because obviously there was no one there like ready for a fight. So he was just like, yeah, I want to see people fighting for a cause. And then when we'd finished, and then obviously because you lot were like cheering and being like, yay, and he was just like, he did this awesome role play, the NPC. I've just been like,
yeah,
oh, that's it. Like as if he had like finally, like he just wanted to hear it one more time. He was just like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. The cheers of the crowd. It was
It was
awesome.
beautiful. Like
Oh, it was so
seriously, the
good.
NPC player there, that was just such a moment. The
Yeah.
fact there was so much going on, and yet that sound, like you just said there, that sound of him, like that sort of gasp, was just like, yes, that's what I miss.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it was very beautiful.
And then, yeah, after that, basically a lot of people were just wandering around talking to these spirits, and yeah, I, um, yeah, I bumped into a spirit I recognized. I bumped into, I saw this spirit from across the field. It was, yeah, Godric's friend Uriel, Lord Uriel, actually, and we talked earlier about having lost characters. Uriel had died like at E4 last year, and I didn't get like Godric never actually got to interact with the character as he died and things like that, unfortunately. But this was really cool because I saw him, and to give this a bit of context, when Godric passed his test of metal, we went to like the player event, History and Virtue, right? And Uriel was there as well, and Uriel was like an ambition priest, I think an ambition priest, but he was like proxy gatekeeper of ambition, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And we had this like joke because like out of character and in character, I didn't actually know what I wanted to do with Godric once he passed his test of metal. I was a little bit like, I don't know what I want to do, you know. And it was like a whole thing. The whole evening was just like, oh yeah, what are you up to? Because I was constantly asking everyone, well, what are you up to? And they're like, well, what are you doing, Godric? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And it's like, well, you know what, you know, and he was trying to be encouraging. He was trying to encourage Godric's ambition, and it was very like, laughing, and being like, oh, who knows, maybe I'll be an example or whatever. I don't know, really know what I want to do. I don't know, because out of character, I didn't know what to do. Anyway, I saw Uriel. Uriel's a ghost, and yeah, I went up. I went up to. This is one of these moments that, in retrospect, for the whole weekend, was a very very impactful moment. I went up to Uriel and I said, I after my conversation with Starash as well, I was like, obviously good to see you, blah blah blah. We were reunited, and I was like, I finally know what my ambition is. And he's like, what is it? And I was like, my ambition is to embrace death and live life as gloriously and as virtuous as I can. And I was like, when I get to that labyrinth, I'm going to blast my way through it so quickly. And Euro was like, yeah, I'll race you to the other end. Yeah, and I'd later found out as well that the player of Euro was like, well, that one of the reasons why he probably wasn't in the labyrinth right there was because he wanted to help people with their ambition, and
Yeah.
that took an emotional toll on me. In character, out of character, but it was such, and there was multiple players that had done that with their characters, brought them back as spirits, and there was lots of moments like this, lots of moments where people were walking around in the Barrens and getting to see these characters again, and you could see the reunions that people were having. It was really special.
Yeah.
Then we got lost. Like, where were you in this?
So I was with Thorzel. Basically, some of you may remembered my test metal involved helping somebody through grief, and I was helping Damien Orzel as we were going through grief and loss of Lady Emmeline. So I went over there as I saw her from a distance, and in character, Aranel and Emmeline did not really have any time together. They spoke a couple of times, and Aranel really admired her on the battlefield, almost sort of like looked up to her on the field, but spent a lot of time with Damien helping him through this. So when she headed over, she watched these interactions, these beautiful interactions, as Lady Emmeline was speaking to each of her house members. And when she had to go, Damien kind of like collapsed on the ground. Like all the grief was just too much. And he was there and he was comforted, but Aranel went over to him then and actually spent the rest of the time there with him as they spoke, and as she put her arm around him and just reminded him that she will always be there to help him through the grief. And as another member of the house passed him on to Aranel and just said, please watch after him. And then at that point we went over, and that actually took up quite a bit of time there, as we then went over to gather in the crowds as everything was starting to finish.
Yeah. So I was, as I was walking around, like they had the entire field, Obviously, most of the people were milling around. That's where most of the lights were, but there were lights like all the way up that field, and it was dark, obviously, and yeah. As I'm walking through the darkness, I hear a voice, and the voice said, "Oh, is that a Godric?" And I turn around and I see a familiar face. I'm going to save this story until the end because I think it's more appropriate to tell at the end. But after I had that interaction, I did a bit more milling around. Yeah, and then we went to like the actual shrine, the shrine itself, and there was a lot of people milling around the shrine, obviously. And this was a real kind of magical moment, wasn't it? It was so that they had, yeah. Funnily enough, the shrine was a shrine of hope. It was called the Shrine of Hope, and they actually. I'm pretty sure. Correct me, people, audience, if I get this wrong, but I'm pretty sure they consecrated it to ambition, and it was a bit of those just like, this is called the Shrine of Hope. Hope is one; it's a false virtue. I don't know if they actually said those words, but they're like. It's the opposite. Hope is the opposite of ambition. Hope is sitting back and waiting for someone to help you. Ambition is getting up and helping yourself, type thing. And they tied that into the whole like we did this. Like no one came and helped. No one came to save the Empire to take the barons. No one gave the barons to Dawn on a silver platter and went, "Oh no, you're having a hard time, Dawn. Here you go. Here's the barons." We did this. We took it back. And all of our characters, in universe, like all of our characters, we've never grown up with the barons. The barons has always been that thing that's been out of reach. But most of us have ties to people that have fought and died in the barons, testing themselves and trying to reclaim it. People have lost their homes, lost their lives, lost their houses. Houses have had to move out of the barons. They're now moved back. And it was just a beautiful moment. Done by especially led by some freaking fantastic role play as well. Like just excellent stuff.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely like such an amazing thing to be part of, and especially like the game as a whole. Like you said, it has happened at least once before, but for us to go through as a full nation like that, to get those opportunities for those characters that had died fighting in the barons as well, it really just got, it was a beautiful way to end it. Fighting, well, not we're still fighting in the barons, but it was a beautiful way to end that sort of arc for us, I feel.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we feel like we had accomplished something, and it's a story that we as players can tell as well in the future. It's one of those ones where you hear like from other players, like especially being a new player last year, it was like, people would be like, "Oh yeah, they did this one conjunction once and we did this," and you're like, "Whoa, what?" Like that's one of those that you're like, "Oh yeah, we literally the entirety of Dawn went out."
Yeah.
And we went to a shrine, and we saw these ghosts and things like that. It was just a one-off something. It was so special.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing to tell people in the future and everything. And yeah. But yeah, that was that was us there, and then we headed back.
Headed back, had a couple of drinks, and went to bed. Well, I got through that pretty unscathed. Pretty unscathed. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. But
well done.
A lot of this stuff I'm gonna have to revisit when we do our finale.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I think it's probably a good time to leave it for this episode. Are you good to wrap up? Yeah.
Yeah. Let's guess. Yeah.
Fantastic. If you thank you very much for stopping by. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you thumbs up. Make sure that you subscribe so you know when a new episode is posted. If you are listening on an audio platform, give us a 5-star review. Click that follow so you know when we are posting new stuff. Until the next time we release another episode, though, you can go check out some of our other episodes that we've done on Empire LARP. We've got lots of guest episodes and whatnot. Until the next time, though, we love you very much and stay safe. Bye, everyone.
Bye.